Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be responding to a viewer's comment asking my thoughts on Victoria Beckham's fashion line off the back of her recent Netflix documentary. I'm Anesu Sagonda, and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things. Whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying better quality from the get-go, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on high quality, under the radar brands, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, then my content is geared towards you. I don't think this video will be complete if I don't talk about her leather goods. So I'm going to start with the fashion line and then finish with my thoughts regarding her bags. Lady Victoria is somebody I greatly admire. She is incredibly driven, she's focused, but most of all, she's incredibly resilient. For as long as she has been in the limelight, she has been on the receiving end of a lot of vitriol, whether it's her weight, she's too thin, or she never smiles, she always looks sour. Or in 2008, when she started her fashion brand, a lot of people questioned her sincerity, whether she was actually genuinely passionate about fashion and she was involved in the design, or whether it was just something she threw money at because she had the resources and it seemed the next logical move to make for somebody in her position. But the docuseries was fantastic because it gave her the platform to be able to address a lot of the criticism and let the viewers know the impact it had on her. And if anything, she used it as fuel for her current success. She has been able to turn her fashion line massively into the black. She has incredibly supportive family, and most of all, she has an absolutely fantastic management team. I like the aesthetic of her brand. It's refined minimalism, tailored sophistication. I like the color palette. I like the silhouettes. They are feminine, they're sleek. I like the subtle draping. I like the fluidity, the movement of her fabrics. I like the cuts, they're flattering. I like her core pieces, the high-waisted pants, the midi dresses, the structured blazers. Her pieces are stunning. When you wear Victoria Beckham's clothes, you look incredibly well put together. You look polished. And if anything, she is her brand's biggest and best billboard because she rocks the hell out of absolutely everything that she wears. I also like the versatility of her brand because you can find something for every occasion, whether it's a smart or casual occasion, you need something to dress up or dress down. She pretty much has a piece for every occasion. She also has complementing products. The makeup line, you can have your makeup done. She has a fragrance line, the leather goods, so the accessories you'd need. And I think she also has shoes. I've seen shoes on her website. So you pretty much are entering a one-stop brand in terms of being attired from head to toe. She has you covered. There are a couple of things I'm not so sure about. The first is, although I like the fluidity of her fabrics, I like the aesthetic, I don't like the quality of her materials. She uses a lot of man-made fibers. Think, for example, acetate, polyester. She also uses viscose. Viscose is seen as an in-between material because it's made from wood pulp. So it's in between man-made and a natural material. But what you will find with a lot of her pieces is that the main material is a man-made fabric. And with man-made fabrics, they deteriorate with time. With wear and tear, the quality goes down. And what you'll also find is that her pieces are largely dry clean only. Dry cleaning means the upkeep is expensive. Dry cleaning leaches chemicals into the environment. And with each dry clean, with each wear and tear, the quality of the item is going to go down. The second thing I'm struggling with is the inconsistency in the craft. I chose a few pieces to look at, and some pieces were incredibly well made. The details, how well the details were executed. And then some I thought were a little lacking on the details, or it wasn't quite the right seam, for example, or finish to a particular part of the item. So a little inconsistency in the craftsmanship. Last count, I came across 3 Victoria Beckham concessions in London. One in Selfridges, the other one in Harvey Nichols, and the third in Harrods. Because they're all independent luxury department stores, their buyers are different, and so the collection in each concession is different, which is fantastic. The fourth is her own standalone showroom, an absolutely stunning architectural masterpiece. It's located on Dover Street and it's spread over 2 floors. Walk in, it's an absolutely imposing showroom. To the right is a sweeping staircase leading to the top floor. Really tall ceilings throughout. And it's largely a dark showroom with the exception of a few strategically positioned spotlights highlighting the bits you really need to focus on. Ground floor, you walk in and the entire left-hand side, there's a wall with a good chunk, I'd say the majority of her leather goods, her bags exhibited on the wall. And then as you walk further into the showroom, still on the ground floor, which is to the left-hand side of the showroom, is a wall, and on the wall on the left-hand side, running along the wall, is a selection of her clothes. Whenever I've gone into the showroom at different times, sometimes they have smarter items, sometimes it's the more casual, the denim, white shirts, for example, but they tend to mix, and you see a selection of smart and maybe some casual pieces along the left-hand side, along the wall. And then the middle of the ground floor is an island with fragrances as well as makeup, and then there are also other handbags dotted around the ground floor. Up the sweeping staircase to the top, and the top is absolutely arresting. The spotlights, the color, the way everything is beautifully exhibited, and of course very well put together sales assistants. You get a good idea of almost her entire collection in different colorways and different style variations. You'll see most of it on the top floor, together with some of the accessories dotted all around the clothes. I went around and just randomly chose 3 pieces I liked. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my sizes. They'd already run out of the smaller sizes, but I tried to add a bit of variety. I have a shirt, a pair of trousers, and also a dress. I'm going to talk about all 3 items in detail. I'm going to talk about the design, I'm going to talk about the inside. Very similar to what you do with a car. When you're buying a car, you lift the hood and you look under the engine and you get a good idea of the quality, how well made the car is, and the condition. It's the same with clothes. Look at the outside, turn the dress inside out or the item inside out, and you get a really good idea of the craftsmanship. That is how I personally shop and how I would recommend. When I talk about clothes going forward in any of my videos, I will always look at the inside as well as the outside of the clothes and give you my thoughts, because I'm all about buy better, buy less, and that means the material, the quality of the material, and how well made and finished the dress is. The first item is the Bella Midi dress, and it so happens to be the same dress that Lady Victoria wore to her husband's investiture. It was only after I had actually chosen the items and I started putting the content together for this video that they announced David Beckham was going to be knighted. And then at the ceremony, I noticed she was wearing the Bella Midi dress, but the longer version. I initially chose the dress because I was drawn to the richness of the color. I thought, great evening color, great for the festive period. It works as an occasion, style and color, but the style does come in a fairly diverse selection of colors, so you do have quite a few options. I like the draping of the dress. I like the rouge detail on the front. It adds a little bit of bulk to the front. So if you're somebody with a little bit of a stomach, it's absolutely perfect to mask the stomach. The dress is made up of numerous panels, and they've used 2 types of seams to join those panels. Flat felled seams for the side and open flat seams for the rest of the dress, the front and the back. And both seams have been sewn absolutely beautifully. They look stunning. Very well done. The flat felled seams on the side, they're the type of seams you typically will see on denim, top end, premium denim. That is the typical seam that they will use. It's great for heavier fabric, it's robust, it's neat, aesthetically it looks good. And premium denim, you want the item to look good on the outside as well as the inside of the item. And it's perfect for this particular dress because the fabric is weighted. It's 71% acetate and 29% viscose. So it's perfect. Aesthetically, I like the look. And if you're somebody who's tall, it just accentuates your height as well. I like the way they have protected the bottom of the dress with the stitching instead of the conventional hem where you fold fabric. The particular fabric is thick, it wouldn't look neat, it would look chunky, it would look clumpy, it just wouldn't look good. But just the way they've protected the hem with the stitching is absolutely perfect. The back of the dress, I really like the detail around the waist, the inside out seam. It looks really nice. I like that detail at the back. I like the detail at the front with the rouge. The rouging, they've paid attention to the front as well as to the back and done something nice on both sides. I like that. I also like the zip that they've used, the color match. It's great. The weight, the quality. It's a YKK zip. For the price point, 850 pounds for the dress. It's perfect. The sleeves though, I'm a little disappointed because if you look at the edge of the seams, I don't think they look particularly neat. From a personal point of view, I personally would have liked something neater. I feel like the sleeves have just been rushed. And especially when you consider the detail at the back, the inside out seam, the front, the rouge detail, where they've paid attention, that's been well done. And then the sleeves just look a little bit rushed. And then when you consider the open flat seam on the front, on the underside of the dress, the neatness of the edge, they could have done that on the edge of the sleeve, I felt. Something neater, paid a little more attention. They've just really rushed the sleeves. And then if you look at the bit where the material joins on top, the stitching doesn't look very nice. I'm not sure if it's torn, if it's been repaired, what's going on there. It just doesn't look as neat as I think it should look. Turning the dress inside out, I like the neckline. I like the fact that they've placed binding on the inside and then double stitched. So stitched on the inside, stitched on the outside. The outside looks absolutely fantastic. It's perfect. It's neat. Inside, there's a little spot where it could be neater. And at the price point, I'd have expected perfection, not only on the outside, but also the inside of the dress. The binding is perfect. And I expect at this price point, because it just helps to put structure into the neck, keep it upright. It doesn't roll over, for example. It's neat, it's professional, it adds the structure. And you're also protecting the material from fraying. What I expect at this price point, and it's well done. On the outside, could be better on the inside. The zip area, you will notice they've added binding to the entire zip. What I expect is professional, it's neat. The dress is neat on the outside as well as the inside. At the price point, what I expect, the binding all around, so when you use the zip, lowering it or raising it, it doesn't catch onto the material, and it also protects the material, and the binding is also attached to the fabric that's used to sew the material. So it's very neat. Everything's been protected. Nothing is open to fraying, for example, and the binding goes all the way down to the bottom of the zip, so it stops right at the bottom and the zip doesn't go past that point. The second item is a pair of high-waisted wide leg trousers. I was initially drawn to the color. Aubergine is one of my favorite colors. I have accessories, bags, boots, and even clothing items in the color aubergine. It's a color I really like. So if I walk into a store, I will notice aubergine, the color, before I even notice what the item is. And then I appreciate whether it's a style I like, something I could wear, but it's the color that really stood out. And I chose the trousers because I wanted to see what one of her signature pieces looks like. She's known for her high-waisted, wide leg trousers. I liked the style, I liked the color. I also liked the weight of the fabric, but I didn't like the quality of the fabric. The main component is a man-made fiber. I think it was actually polyester, but I'll include the details just on this side. The front of the trousers, I like the pleat, and the pleat leads into a fold that runs down the entire front of the trousers. I really like that bit of detail. The front where the zip is sewn, I felt the stitching just at the base was a little bit forced. It could have been neater. It was also a little bit tight. I think they could have done a better job. On the front of the trousers, I really liked the finish. It was neat, it was even, and it wasn't bulky and clumpy. They managed to do a really flat job on the front, considering the weight of the fabric. I liked the buttonhole. I thought it was beautifully done. And then the actual placement of the buttonhole, it lay flat, it was neat, it was smooth. I liked that. The hardware wasn't clumpy, it was small, it was neat, it just blended in. You didn't see anything protruding. I thought that was fantastic. I didn't like, however, the difference in the color of the thread in comparison to the fabric. That's just a personal thing. I would have liked an exact match in terms of the color of the thread as well as the fabric. And I also felt when you're wearing the trousers, if you sit down and the fabric stretches and there's different colored thread, that may come through. That was just a personal thing I felt, but I know there are people who like the difference in thread versus the fabric, for example. I also liked the band. I thought the band was firm. I thought it was very well done. And the pants will actually stay up without the need for a belt. So the belt holes are actually decorative, and you can wear a belt, but they're decorative because the firmness really holds up. I thought that was really nice. I liked that. I also liked the way the trousers had been hemmed. They used clear fabric and the hemming was done securely. I liked it. The back of the trousers, I really liked the pretty binding at the back where they have the two little pockets. They're not pockets that are used, but just little decorative aesthetic detail, and I thought really nicely done. And I also like the fact that they used really light fabric for the lining, and so the fabric doesn't come through. There isn't any bulk. It's just a very smooth, neat, clean finish. Looking at the inside of the trousers, where the zip is attached, really neat. I like the lining at the back. It's light. It just neatens the zip area and it just adds support to that area. You don't get the zip rubbing directly against the skin. I also liked the fact that the seam on the pocket is in the middle and not at the front where it potentially could have added bulk. It's the type of detail I'd expect at this price point, £590 for the trousers, where they pay attention to the details and how everything sits, how it looks, the type of material, and what it looks like on the underside. I really like the seams, open flat seams, beautifully done. I like the way the edges were protected, really neat and smooth, low bulk stitching, so you don't have any bulk, anything protruding from the underside. Everything is smooth, it's neat. I like the lightness of the fabric for the lining on the inside and just the smooth neatness of the seams. They don't come through and everything just looks very neat and bulk free. The third item is a silk shirt. I really like the buttons. They just helped to elevate the simplicity. They just added that little je ne sais quoi to what is otherwise a fairly simple design. I also like the tuxedo detail on the front. And it's a shirt you could dress up or you could dress down. And I also like the fact that it was an incredibly well-made shirt. What I struggled with is the fact that the body of the shirt is 100% silk, natural material, but the front, the tuxedo detail on the front, is acetate and viscose. 71% acetate, 29% viscose. So it's man-made, and I struggled with that bit. So the whole shirt is dry clean. The front, I like the simplicity. I like the buttons, as I mentioned. I also like the fact that the buttonholes were incredibly neat. On the outside, really neat, evenly done. The buttons on the front, the strip that the buttons were attached on, it was double layered, 2 folds of material. So it had the weight, and the same for the other side where the buttonholes were placed. The material was a double layer. So there was the weight on both sides. It wasn't flimsy. It had bulk to it. Flip the shirt inside out. And I really like the fact that the shirt was just as neat on the inside as it was on the outside. At the price point, £650, it's exactly what I would expect. The shoulders were not bulky, they were flat. The sleeves, they had the double stitching, so they were strong, they were neat. The cuffs from the inside were just as neat on the inside as they were on the outside. And I like the fact that the seams from the arms all the way down were French seams. So they were incredibly neat. You could wear the shirt inside out and nobody would even notice. And I also like the fact that the hem of the shirt, they placed binding, and that's to give it weight so the shirt would stay down and the hem wouldn't roll up. That's the kind of detail I would expect at £650. Beautifully executed shirt. But the one thing that I struggled with, and it shouldn't have happened at the price point, is the tuxedo detail. Although it lay flat, it wasn't even. There was a mismatch at the bottom. And at £650, I don't expect to see a mismatch at all. And so what do I think about Victoria Beckham's clothes from a quality point of view? As I mentioned right at the beginning, she uses a lot of man-made fabrics. And I get it because she's trying to achieve a particular look in terms of the movement, how the fabric hangs, how it behaves, for example. Something she may not be able to achieve as well with cotton or linen, natural fabrics. But what I have noticed is that the wear and tear on the man-made fabrics is not very good. The Bella Midi dress I saw in 2 different stores. And I remember seeing the same issue on the dress in 2 different stores. So it showed consistency. It showed that this is going to be an issue with the man-made fabric. The fabric was starting to fray. And with the Bella Midi dress, I remember on the inside, the zip had binding all the way around to protect the fabric, to stop it from fraying, and also to stop the zip catching onto the fabric. And even with that detail added, the bottom of the zip where the fabric is started to fray. And this is even before the dress has been purchased and then the consumer actually starts to wear the dress, and then you have active wear and tear. And this is before any of that, and it's already starting to fray. And I also noticed with a different top, also made of a combination of man-made fabrics, the stitches starting to tear through the fabric, and this is before the item had even left the store and anybody had actually worn the item. So the man-made fabrics are problematic. The wear and tear is not good. They fray quite quickly. With each wear and tear, the quality goes down. And then of course the upkeep is incredibly expensive, dry clean only, and you're also impacting negatively to the environment. And what I also noticed with the Bella Midi, but more so from a craftsmanship point of view, man-made fabrics are not easy. They're fiddly to manage. I remember front of the dress where the flat felt seams are. One of the seams, fabric has been cut across the grain. And at the bottom of the flat felt seam, I could see gathering. And that's because sewing the man-made fabric is a little fiddly, and therefore the gathering, it wasn't as smooth, as flat a seam as it should have been. And you could have very easily achieved with a natural fabric made of either cotton or linen, for example. And I also noticed on the back of the dress where the zip is, one of the sides was a little bit bumpy, again because the man-made fabric is a little difficult, a little tricky to sew, and it's hit or miss whether you're going to get it entirely flat or you may encounter some gathering. So whether it's blazers, trousers, dresses, anything made from man-made fabrics from Victoria Beckham, I'm less inclined to recommend. I actually won't recommend. And I wouldn't even say if it's a special occasion item, because you're wearing it once and then what do? You don't wear it again and you've encountered great expense. Because I know from experience, having tried a number of other brands that use man-made fabrics, the quality will go down with each wear and when you also dry clean it. But what I wouldn't hesitate to recommend at all is her shirts, and specifically shirts that are made from 100% cotton or linen, natural fabrics only. Her shirts are beautifully made. I like the French seams. I like the attention to detail. The cuffs are incredibly neat, the inside, the outside. The shirt can be worn inside or outside because it's so neat, so well sewn, using beautiful flat seams. The buttonholes are well made, the details, the buttons. She creates her shirts really well. I like them. So I wouldn't hesitate personally to buy one of her shirts, and I've always been on the lookout. It's just finding a style I like and also in my size, and it's what I would recommend. Her denim, I have never actually tried it purely because her styles, the cuts are for a more Caucasian physique. I have a typical Black African physique in that I have hips, and for my size, my hips are a little fuller, and hence I struggle to find denim that truly fits and is comfortable and accentuates my figure. Moving on to the bags. Victoria Beckham has a number of products within the brand: clothes, accessories, fragrances, makeup, for example. And all of the products are made by different suppliers. But what I've noticed when it comes to her accessories, so think of the belts and the bags, for example, is she doesn't champion them as hard as she does her clothes. She rocks her clothes, she's the best billboard. But I have noticed she doesn't always rock her bags, and especially high profile events where she needs to be head to toe in Victoria Beckham. She hasn't done that. I remember I was absolutely stunned earlier on this year after her Paris show, seeing her rocking a Kelly with her suit. And I was stunned because I thought, this would have been the perfect opportunity. The world's eyes are on you and you're rocking a Kelly. Why are you not rocking one of your own bags? So I was a little disappointed, and I felt from observation, and I will be the first to put my hand up and say I don't follow her closely, but whenever I've picked up on the brand, I don't always see her rocking her bags, which is what she really should do. When it comes to her bags, I really like the styles. I like the colors. They are beautiful. You will find a bag for every single occasion in Victoria Beckham. All the clothes she sells for the different occasions, you will find a complementing bag confidently and in a really good selection of colors. But what I personally struggle with, and these are just purely my thoughts, I remember looking at the bags in store. She had pretty much all of her, I think, entire collection, which was great. And I remember looking at the leather, feeling the leather. It's soft. It feels lovely to the touch. But then on closer examination, I thought, it's just average. She uses a lot of chrome tanned leather, and that's to be able to achieve the fairly sizable color palette, the type of colors, the colors that her bags are available in. The leathers are chrome tanned, and the quality is just average. She's not using an Italian equivalent because her bags are made in Italy, and I'd imagine using Italian leather. They're not made using the equivalent of Rémy Cariat, for example. Rémy Cariat is a legendary French tannery, and they are known for their mineral tanned leathers, mineral being chrome tanned leathers. Their leathers will last you a lifetime. The average tannery that tans chrome tanned leather, it's leather that is going to last a number of years. If you're going to use it, 3, 4, 5 years if you're lucky, but it's not leather that will typically last a lifetime. And I'm confident, without knowing which tannery she uses, where she sources her leathers, her leather is not on the same level as Rémy Cariat. And I remember looking at a belt and thinking, this is really interesting. She's doing something similar to a German brand I've spoken about before called Chris. And Chris specializes in belts, and they do them really well, and their belts are glued, and they do a superb job. The technique, the type of glue, absolutely stunning. But Victoria Beckham is not on the same level. Her belts are glued, and if you use the belts day in, day out, it's a belt you buy with the intention of using it all the time, the glue will start to lift and you'll start to see splitting. I'm almost certain of that. And having looked at it, looked at the leather, and I noticed the leather was already, the outer edges, the color was already starting to wear through, and I just thought, I mean, it's just average leather. The tanning is just okay. And you can see for yourself how it's going to age and the quality of, the lower quality of the leather that's been used. And I thought it was interesting. A booklet in the bag alluded to using the most luxurious leathers to give the impression it's amazing, it looks good, it performs good, it's good quality. It looks good, it feels good, but the quality when it comes to the wear and tear, it'll start to show that it's just average quality leather. As I mentioned, I like the colors, I also like the styles. I remember looking at the tote priced at £1,390. And I noticed it in leather. I also noticed it in suede. I remember looking at the suede version because the color really stood out. I like the yellow, the lighter yellow, the more chiffon take of yellow. And I remember looking at the underside and seeing the scuffing. I was able to get a good idea of where the wear and tear will start to come through in the base very quickly. But what really stood out when I picked up the tote, it's a tote that's big enough from a size point of view to take quite a few items, to take quite a bit of weight. But it hasn't been crafted for the potential weight it can take. I remember seeing pressure points and just thinking, if you buy the tote and use it for a season, day in, day out, you'll start to see wear and tear on the handles very quickly. Where the pressure points are, load the bag, with time that'll crease, the leather will split. And the handles have not been made to cater for the potential weight the bag can take. They haven't considered wear and tear. They haven't considered details that would ensure that the handles are strong. There isn't any material that's been added to the handles. They're very flimsy. And they haven't added any leather or anything on the inside to just bolster the durability and to make them a lot more robust and to withstand pressure and potential weight. They are so flimsy, and constant usage, very quickly you will get wear and tear. And I wouldn't be surprised if the handles tore, they split, but they are not made to withstand weight. And I thought to myself, for half the price, you can get a much better tote. Think of some of the French brands I've introduced to my viewers. There's RSVP, GUIBERT Paris, for example. And GUIBERT Paris have a number of totes, and they use leather from TANNEUR, in particular the Novo Napa. Absolutely stunning, exceptional quality leather for an absolute fraction of the price in comparison to the Victoria Beckham tote. And also throw into that equation another French brand with absolutely stunning totes, BONASTRE. And then her bags, the flap over bags, I like that particular style, and in particular the smaller one. I remember looking at the bigger one and thinking that would be good as a work bag, a running around bag. And I just thought the bags are incredibly basic. The leather, I like the color selections. Again, average quality leather, it's chrome tanned. Looking on the inside, incredibly basic. They've used fabric to line the inside. There's one very small slip pocket that can just about take a card in terms of the size. There aren't any other details. There's an additional strap with the bag, what they call a smart strap, so you can adjust it, make it longer or shorter, so you can carry the bag over the shoulder or as a crossbody. And they've crafted what's called smart, so it's a very neat way to extend the strap without visible belt buckles. I like the edge coating, I like the stitching, I thought it was nice, but I just thought it's a basic bag on the inside. It's over £1,000, and for half the price you can get a better bag. The Allure bag from GUIBERT Paris immediately came to mind. RSVP has a number of other similar styled bags, TANNEUR, for example. And then the smaller version of the bag, £700, perfect as an occasion bag. It's a small bag, it doesn't take a lot, so it's the type of bag you'll use occasionally, sparingly. So the test in terms of wear and tear, you'd typically be able to use it for many more years to come, especially in comparison to the medium size, which you typically use a lot more frequently. I personally, if I was forced to buy one of her bags, I would go for the small occasion bags. I really liked the green color. There was almost a bright emerald green when the bags first came out. I remember seeing it once and thinking, oh, I'll go back and take a look. And the next time I went back to Selfridges, it was sold out. But I really liked that green color. But I liked the shape, I liked the edge coating, the stitching. fairly basic on the inside, as I mentioned, but there are better styles in terms of the leathers used, the craft, the details that have gone in. Some of the brands that I've spoken about, and this particular style, like for like, I would throw in RSVP, for example. And so those are Victoria Beckham's bags. Fairly basic, very little detail, very little craft has really gone into the bags. They're very simple, non-fussy bags. They've used average quality leather. I like the styles, I like the colors. Are they worth the price point? I personally don't think so, because you can get significantly better leather, and in some cases significantly better craft and details for an absolute fraction of the price. So those are my thoughts regarding her bags and of course her clothes. Any thoughts, any questions, as always, do let me know in the comment section down below.